Amazing. All right, guys, it is that time. Make some noise and welcome your host and moderator at Build, Ricky Camilleri, and today's guest, Patel.
Thanks, everybody. One more time for Patel.
Hello.
Let's hear it.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Dev, you are in so many good movies and TV shows. You are a part of so many great projects. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, man. Oh.
Like, usually, I can
Very
go
lucky.
through someone's IMDb and be like, throw it away, great, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, great. I just went through yours and it was like, great, great, great,
No,
great,
there's
great,
a couple
great.
smelly ones there.
Are there really?
Yeah.
I didn't really, maybe like the second, but like, no, there's some really amazing stuff there. Do you find yourself, do you feel like it's luck, or is it a lot of, you've just sort of had a certain kind of taste early on?
I would say that a big portion of it is luck, but once you have an opportunity, I think hard work is the only thing that's going to keep you there, really. And I have been blessed. I've surrounded myself. My motto is just be around people that are better than you at what you do, because that's the way you're going to learn. So I've been lucky with these filmmakers and actors, and it's been cool so far.
So how did that bring you to Lion? How did Lion come to you? It's this incredible true story of this guy, Saru, who, as we saw in the trailer just now, sort of goes back to find his parents or his mother in India after being separated from her after more than 20 years. How did this story come to you?
Well, I'd read a news article about it really early on, and then I heard whispers of them turning it into a film in the industry. And I called up my agents. I was like, I've got to be a part of this journey. I was so enthralled by it, and I pestered them. I got in the room with the writer and the director. I knocked on his door, and they were in there with this whiteboard. They hadn't even begun writing the first act. They had all these Post-its on the wall.
So this wasn't an audition or anything?
No. And I'm like, hey, I'm Dev. And they're like, don't look at that. That's confidential right now. And they were like, look, we're really early on in this process, and you're going to have to audition. So I was like, okay, cool. And a couple months later, they came out with a script, and I was so enthralled by this journey. Being an Indian guy, journeys like this that are, soulful, are, full of pain and emotion, and it's based on a true story. They're really few and far between. So you've got to really fight for those ones. And
well, there's very few sort of Western-made movies about India that take place in India at all.
Yeah. So it's slim pickings.
Great ones.
Exactly. So I went in and I was doing this film with Jeremy Irons, and they called me and they're like, Garth wants to meet you, the director. And I'd been prepping this Indian accent, playing this period film about this Indian mathematician, and I was like, how am I going to get this Australian accent ready in a week to meet him? So I'm online watching all these videos and watching Australian MasterChef and everything. And
that's who the accent got based off of?
And I went in and auditioned. It was 6 hours we were in this room together. Whoa. And it was brutal, but very, very nourishing. Yeah.
What did the 6-hour audition consist of?
Well, first, like Garth, the director, he's just a really spiritually grounded kind of human being. So we sat down, we had tea, and then we spoke about this man's journey, this boy who kind of was left on the streets of India, torn away from his family, and then, he's locked on this train and hurtled across this vast country, and he has to survive for himself, in a land full of predators, and you go from that into a very internal kind of journey about identity, about a boy who's taken from India, adopted by a beautiful family, and is living a great life, but is shunned part of that history to survive, because that's the only way he can do it. And these emotions of his mother and his brother start to surface and haunt him. And so we looked at these pictures of the family, and I was looking at them, and then we went in and did every scene. And by the end of it, after 5.5 hours, he's like, before you go, I just want you to do one thing. You don't have to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do this, obviously.
It's like a casting couch?
Yeah. And he was like, I want you to roar. And I was like, roar? And he's like, yeah, I just want you to scream. I want you to let go of all this pain that the character's been holding, and I want you to just lose it. And it was his process of seeing if I was willing to go there and fully expose myself. And, I've just met Garth, and I was like, okay. And he goes, I'm going to put on some music. And he goes to the laptop and plays this song. And it was a song that I was listening to on the way to the audition.
What's that?
It's actually from this film Waltz with Bashir, and it's a piece of the score by Max Richter, and he played that exact same piece, and it was like this kind of serendipitous moment.
Wow.
And the tears just came, and I was screaming like a madman in the room. And yeah, he's like, "Okay, thank you. We'll be in touch." I'm like, "Okay, thanks, man." And I left. And
Well, let's continue talking about Lion, but first, let's talk about the life of an actor, because that is, what was that like to have to do that? And I can't imagine, obviously that's an abnormal thing, or not something that happens all the time to have to do an audition, but that is an incredibly vulnerable place to put yourself in with a stranger for the purpose of getting this role. What does that feel like?
I mean, I was lucky in this case, because a lot of the time you feel objectified by directors. They're there judging you, and you feel like you're really put on a chopping block. But with Garth, he's different, because he gives a piece of himself to you. He'll talk about his past, his family, and you really feel like he's in the trenches. I had a similar kind of reaction to Danny Boyle when I did Slumdog. When he's explaining a scene to you, his hands are shaking and his hair's standing up, and you start to see his eyes well up. And you're just like, God, if I can't do it for myself, I'm going to do it for you, because you're giving me so much energy. And that's what it was like. But, auditions are just part and parcel of what we do. And the
it was
good
sort
ones.
of easy to get past any kind of self-consciousness that would.
I know. I hate it. I'm terrible at auditioning. And that song and just what happened with the energies in the room, I lucked out in that case. But they're very awkward, because you're having to open up your soul and go somewhere very intimate, and all the good ones you have to fight for. So, to expose that and find the truth in such a clinical environment is very difficult.
So you signed on to do this movie. Did you go meet Saru?
Yeah.
So
Well, actually, the last scene in the film, which I won't give away if anyone hasn't seen it, is the first thing I shot. So that was very difficult, and I hadn't met the family because that was in India. And when we went to Australia to shoot that portion, that's when we were filming 5 minutes away from where the family lived. So me and Saru had breakfast, and I'd been prepping for this role for 8 months. I had to grow my hair and go to the gym and change my voice and all that. And we just instantly connected. I felt like I'd known this guy for a long time, and it was baffling, because everything from the eggs I'd ordered to the T-shirt I was wearing to the music we listened to on the car, he remembers. He's got this incredible photographic memory. We just spoke about this concept of astral travel, not to get too hippie with you guys, but I was like, how did you remember as a 6-7-year-old child these parts of your past so viscerally? He wasn't educated, so he couldn't speak the local dialect, and he didn't know his mother's name. He used to just call her Ami, which is mum. And it's a testament to the love, really, that his mother gave him, but he could remember everything, the dam that he bathed in with his brother, the forest he used to play in, all these, the water tower at the train station he got lost at. And he goes, every night when I first moved to Australia, I would go to bed in this new bedroom, with a poster on the wall, and my mother had put a poster of the world on the wall, world map. And I'd look at it, and she goes, "That's India, that's where you're from." And he would go to sleep, and he felt like his heart started to race really fast. And he would feel himself elevating out of his body, floating over the globe, hovering over India, then materializing next to his family in India. And he would whisper to his mother, "I'm okay, I'm here, I'm with you." And he said, I would wake up in the morning, strangely just sweating and exhausted every night, being a small child to a grown-up. And he goes, that was me astral traveling. I felt like I was there with her. And then this app came out, Google Earth, which paralleled that. He zoomed above the globe, hovered above India, and then went into the pixels, the minutiae. And I was just really fascinated by that.
That's unbelievable. Did they try to incorporate that idea of the astral plane, or his emotional astral plane, into the film at all before the Google Earth? Because it's one of those things that when someone tells you that story, yeah. I can see a filmmaker being like, we got to get that in there, and then getting them like, I don't know how this actually could sort of work into a story, how it could end up looking.
There is an element of it in the film when he talks about going to visit her every night, and kind of word for word, but
there's some wonderful scenes where he remembers sort of
exactly,
the rocks
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a bit of that.
Did you feel like you had a connection with him in any way? You said when you first sat down with him, you felt kind of instantly connected with him. Do you think it was because of all the work that you had done and sort of trying to figure out who he was and reading the book, or was there a connection to you as sort of two sort of young Indian men that also did not grow up in India but may have had a connection to it emotionally? Well,
the first thing he looked at me and he said, well, you got to go to the gym a bit more because you're not big enough. And I was like, damn. But we did. I mean, a lot of the film is identity, and it's not about being ungrateful because he lives an amazing existence in Australia. But the idea is knowing where you came from, having a sort of stable grounding to your roots. That really helps you as a human being excel in life. And you know, when I grew up in London, I told him, I was like, you know, I did everything to shun my Indianness, to not get bullied in school where I went. And it was only when I went to the city, Bombay, to film Slumdog that every preconceived notion and everything was dispelled, and I completely was enthralled by this place.
You almost need I think everybody has that in regards to their identity, whether they're an expat or whether they're, you know, originally from somewhere else, which is at a certain point to sort of forge your own path, you shun things in your life, and then in order to sort of bring it back, you shun that other thing, and then eventually you can merge the two.
And I think, you know, what the film does great is that it talks about how our uniqueness, our individual histories is what actually shouldn't separate us but bring us together. It's the uniqueness of everyone that is what is beautiful. And, you know, once he started to embrace that, that's when he could really stop fighting against his past and embrace it, that he could, you know, try and find home.
I think that's one thing that you do really well in your performance, which is that period of time where he has to sort of shun the great life that he's had so he can dive into where he's from, and then sort of having to bring the two together, and the internal conflict that he's having throughout the majority of the piece of the film that you're in.
Yeah, there's moments when I'm staring at this blank laptop and you're looking, and it's even more amazing because back in 2008, when the app just came out, it's just blurry pixels. And this guy can gather so much information. That's the bougainvillea that I used to play by, that bush. That's that. And to you or I, it wouldn't mean anything. And the refresh rates, he goes, his modem wasn't fast enough. So to zoom in, it would take 10 minutes for it to refresh before he got a little bit closer. So the level of determination required to do that. And it's quite beautiful because it's how you can use technology, and it transcends something that is logistical into something emotional, you know, in a big way. I'm sitting in front of this laptop trawling through history. So to try and build that, the director did great things. Like he had me in India playing with Sonny, the little boy you see in the film, who's incredible, and the woman who plays a mother. And we would play in the forest in the leaves, and he would record the sound of these leaves. So when we're shooting in cold Tasmania, he would play that sound. And all of a sudden, I was transported to this place of nostalgia, you know, to a real memory that I'd had. And it makes it truthful. It makes it honest, the performance.
What was it like shooting some of those scenes where you are, I mean, specifically where your Saru is figuring everything out and it's all in front of the computer? You know, it's a series of shots of the screen, of a finger clicking and typing, and you crying. What was the process like in shooting that?
Well, so we had that. There was one moment where I felt this perfect synergy, this trifecta between me, our director Garth, and our cinematographer Greg, because the camera was this close, a big camera right there by my face, and it was slowly inching in, and I'm at this laptop on this little couch, and you know, I'm hovering over Russia. There's no point even trying to find the right place because I'm so bad with actual computers. And Garth sitting beside me, just out of frame with the monitor, looking at my face, and he's talking me through this journey. And he's like, okay, now, you know, you can smell her, and I'm going through. And all of a sudden, for a moment, again, I'm sounding very hippie, I'm really sorry, but as everything went away, and I was just there, like almost hypnotized, and going on this journey with this director. And again, he'd put on the music that I like, because I like getting into that emotion. And it was Max Richter, this song I'd auditioned.
Well, it's interesting that you say hippie, and I think that to believe in this story, which is, I mean, believe in it's absolutely real, but the sort of faith that goes into something like this taking place, and the sort of belief in a kind of miracle that you have to have.
It is a miracle. What happened?
It is. You have to be kind of hippie-ish. It's cool.
It completely. There's a destiny to it, and You know, when I went to India and I met Saru's mother, the Indian mother, I don't speak Hindi, and I was there with Priyanka, who plays her in the film, and she traveled down from another part of India to meet us, and we just sat there and we all held hands and cried, and it was, you know, that moment, me and my co-star looked at each other and were like, all right, we got to do this, like this scene coming up, we've really got to dig deeper than we ever had, you know, it's got to come from the gut, and it's special because, you know, we're portraying people that are living. They're continuing to evolve. These relationships are delicate, and there's a sacredness that goes into that.
How has Saru responded to the film?
So I was told by the Australian producers, because they had filmed it for them in a private screening in Australia, and all of the family, like Saru had seen it first, and he was like, okay, it's cool, you can let mum and dad watch it. So the mum and dad, Sue and John, were in the middle of the theatre. Saru was in the corner stressing, and his brother Mantosh was in the other end, and they were all watching this film. And when the lights went up and they looked through the projection box, the director and the producer, they were all together holding hands. And yeah, they were there for half an hour, just like this. And the director had to slowly enter the room and talk to them. And I mean, it really is an anthem of love and unification and family. So, you know, to see their story personified like that, I think it must have been really, really emotional.
Is it difficult for you as an actor to take on a project that has so much basis in reality and so much, and it's kind of such a fragile story in regards to the people that you're portraying?
Yeah, I mean, I told him, I was like, look, I don't look like you, but I will kill myself. I'll break my back to make sure that I do justice to your journey, and I'll catch...
He was really mad that you were a bodybuilder?
No, but, you know, to capture someone's essence is what's important. You know, mimicry is boring. You don't want to go and watch that. The honesty and the truth is what you want to find. And, you know, they were just so open with us, so it was great. And it gives you, you know, as an actor, sometimes you wake up and you're exhausted. You've been flying somewhere to do press. You've come in, now you've got to wake up at 4 a.m. and something's gone wrong. You don't like the way it's set up, and it can bring you out of the moment for a second. And when you're playing someone real, it gives you that extra strength, you know, when you're like, okay, if I can't do it for myself, I'm gonna, you know, there's some wind beneath, you know, your wings other than just your own driving force, if that makes sense.
There's also the thing when you're an actor, when you're in that position where, like you said, you flew in, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, you're tired, you have to do this, it's suddenly set up not the way that you imagined it or not the way that you wanted it. There's literally nothing that you can do as
But what's actor. Also important to say is what you feel is a sacredness to what you're doing. Like those steps I walked were sacred to me because they'd been walked before. There's a scene with Nicole Kidman, my first scene with her, and I was so nervous because you know, this is Nicole Kidman and I'm just this, you know, goofy dude from London, Rayners Lane, you know, and I'm sitting there and she's quiet. And, you know, she's not talking. She's looking out on this chair, looking out at the sea. And I was like, okay, she's in it already. And the director walked in, Garth, he said, okay, we're going to do it. Sit down, do it. And we started.
The scene where the first scene you shot, is this the scene where she's sitting in the chair and you come in?
Yeah, sitting in the chair. And I'm telling
down?
her, you know, I'm sorry you couldn't have your own children, basically, because, you know, we come with baggage. We weren't blank pages. You know, you're not just adopting us, but you're adopting our pasts as well. And that's a lot. And then she goes on, and these words Saru and his mother did speak, word for word. So we felt the power of these words because I knew that there was a real mother and son facing a turmoil and a crisis where the family was fraying, and they said these words to each other. So, you know.
Is this the first time you had met Nicole?
No, we'd done a whole bunch of rehearsals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But this was the first scene we shot, yeah.
Let's turn it over to the audience for questions. Who was right here?
Hi, Dave. I've been a fan of yours for a while, and I was just wondering if, in terms of diversity in Hollywood, if you feel like there's been enough progress in casting people of color as leads and also doing a breakthrough film like this. Is there anything more that you would want to be able to do in your career to try and improve the state of the media for people of color and for Asian Americans like yourself?
Wow, heavy question. Oh, man.
I'm going to put my mic down, let him take the stage for a little bit.
Man. Oh. Okay. No, look, I came into this, as a idealistic dreamer, right? And we spoke earlier that I'm a product of a lot of luck, but now I'm at a stage in my career where I can navigate this ship a bit more. And it's been difficult, you know. After Slumdog, I talk about it. You know, your first film, it goes on to win 8 Oscars, and you look out and there's nothing to really substantially follow it. And I was just a 17-year-old, 18-year-old guy, like, damn, I think I'm starting to know how to act. I want to cut my teeth on something, but there was nothing there. And it's been a struggle, you know. And I look at the African-American struggle in cinema, and you look at all those amazing icons from Sidney Poitier to Denzel to Samuel to Will Smith to Cuba Gooding. And, you know, for a British Indian guy or an Indian guy or an Asian, there's the varied storytelling is slow. I felt Slumdog opened a lot of doors, but I don't go into choosing movies because I'm going to be changing the lives of millions of actors. I go in because I respond to the character, and I just want to do that justice. And then then the whole question of diversity comes in later, and it's difficult. You know, it's a smaller pond that we're fishing in. But I feel it changing, and I feel it's important to recognize that, and not, you know, when there's awards and all this conversation, that's when the diversity topic comes up a lot. But that's not the point. You know, it's not about awards. It's actually about the storytelling. So, you know, it's about getting those stories out and making sure that the people that are telling them are diverse. Diverse voices are making movies. It's not about who's winning awards. That can come later, you know. That makes sense.
Next question.
Hey, Dev. Thanks for being here.
Hey.
I know you mentioned that you worked with Nicole Kidman on the movie, but I also want to mention the other film, The Man Who Knew Infinity, when you worked with Jeremy Irons. I was wondering, like, what was it like working with him and Nicole Kidman?
Oh, they're both. I mean, like, Jeremy Irons is a titan. You know, he's won an Oscar, an Emmy, everything. Tony's conquered everything. And that film was really precious to me because it was about this Indian mathematician, and the director spent 10 years trying to get it off the ground. You've got an Indian guy, old English professor, no real action or, you know, romance. It's a tough sell. So to get that off the ground was a real win. And when Jeremy came on, you know, because I'd helped work on the script with the writer, it was amazing. And it's a story about friendship, and Jeremy's just... He's so aware of filmmaking as a whole. Like, I come in and I was nervous about my accent, about the way I looked, and he comes in and he's like, you know, what season are we in? Okay, I think we should frost the windows. Yeah, get costume in to put some jackets and put the fire on there. And he's looking at it as a picture as a whole. Let's get some smudges on the chalkboard so it looks like we've been working for 3 hours. And that was really amazing. I mean, he's an amazing technician like Nicole. They're technically just amazing, but and also they're curious. That's what I've learned. They remain curious, constantly asking questions.
I think we have time for one more question right here.
Hi, Deb.
Hello.
I just want to say I've seen the movie, and it's a three-hanky job, which they don't understand here. And I've lived in India, so I was so drawn by it. I know you said you don't speak Hindi. Does Bollywood call you? Does that call to you at all?
Once in a while, I'll get a couple of offers here or there, but you know, I don't look down upon it. I think it's great. You know, they're churning out more films than Hollywood is. But for me personally, I think I want to represent something different in my career. You know, I'm a guy that grew up in London watching Bruce Lee and Jim Carrey. You know. And I want to, you know, I want to be able to step into a realism and a different kind of cinema and do something that not a lot of people are doing. So it answers the first question in a way, actually, in a long way around. But, you know, there's not a lot of representation, and it's a niche market. So I'm trying my best not to go out there and join the pack and do the usual, you know, thing.
You said that with the Man Who Knew Infinity, you worked with the scriptwriter a little bit on the project?
Yeah. Because it was very mathematically dense, and I'm terrible with maths. So I was like, you know, we should make this about two human beings, a man from the middle of India who's very spiritual, and an atheist from London who's a stiff-collared kind of mentor who becomes a father figure, a bad father figure to this young man. And it's about them trying to understand each other's ideologies and art. And it's cool, yeah.
Well, I guess since you found these projects post Slumdog where you could kind of cut your teeth, like The Newsroom, which I would imagine as an actor is like a real sort of teeth-cutting experience. It's just like, it seems like really challenging work for an actor. Are you reaching a point where you kind of want to work with writers and develop your own projects from start to finish?
100%. I'm working on some now. It's really important, I think, you know. And it's amazing to start at the grassroots instead of coming in at the end and putting the finishing touches to a story. To be able to build it from the ground is the dream. Yeah.
Well, Dev, you accomplished the dream with Lion. It's really amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's in theaters in New York and LA right now. When is it going to be across the country?
I don't know.
Lion is in theaters right now. Dev Patel, thanks so much for being here.